6.
From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. And the first in our series of special reports, The Damning of America. Tonight, pork barrel politics.
Good evening. President Reagan today exercised his first veto. In the process, he began an actual shutdown of the government for the first time. In general, this battle between the President and Congress is over who is to control budget cuts. Specifically, the shutdown showdown came over a resolution to keep the government in funds until regular appropriations are passed. The fight caused the temporary layoff of thousands of federal workers. But Capitol Hill, lacking enough votes to override the veto, acted by day's end. It simply extended present funding for 3 more weeks. Leslie Stahl and Phil Jones have details.
When Congress sent him a so-called stopgap emergency spending bill with only $2 billion in cuts, the president not only vetoed it, he began closing down all non-essential functions of the government. Then he blamed Congress for everything.
The practice of loading the budget with unnecessary spending and then waiting until after the 11th hour to pass a continuing resolution on the assumption that it was safe from a presidential veto has gone on much too long. It's one of the principal reasons why the growth of government spending is still not under control. These so-called stopgap resolutions are actually budget busters that can last for an entire year and create the kind of economic mess we inherited last year.
The Democrats accused him of theatrics. He denied it.
I think it's time someplace along the line that we've got to say, let's quit this and do what 50 states manage to do on time every year, and that is have a budget.
At an emergency cabinet meeting, the president ordered that the bulk of the government be shut down immediately. 60% of the White House staff was sent home by noon, along with 400,000 other government employees, all on furlough without pay. The White House tour office was closed. There was no official press briefing and no pictures of the president eating his first meal in the White House mess, since the White House photo printing office was shut down. But despite all the hubbub, officials admitted that no essential services were lost, with those involved in national security, health, and safety staying on the job. But the day ended with Congress caving in and the president signing a $428 billion continuing budget resolution that expires in just 3 weeks. With the crisis over, officials here joked that the president got just what he wanted. He closed down most of the federal government, except for the Pentagon, of course. One aide saying, "It took us 10 months, but we finally did it." Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
Democrats were incensed by the president blaming Congress. Speaker O'Neill, with his harshest comments yet against Mr. Reagan, told reporters, "He knows less about the budget than any other president in my lifetime. He can't even carry on a conversation about the budget." Senate Democratic Leader Byrd called it a manufactured shootout at the OK Corral. On the House floor, Democrats were trying their best to blame the crisis on Reagan theatrics.
It's about getting David Stockman and Mr. Allen off the front pages. Mr. President, you're a great actor indeed, but this time it will not work.
Confusion, chaos, anarchy. Where is the president coming from? And where is he taking the nation? How does he think the rest of the world views the Reagan theater of the absurd?
But Republicans had a different interpretation of the Reagan tactics.
Now, so many of my Democratic colleagues have said, where is the president coming from? The same place he's always come from. You have been busting the budget. And he wants to take you out to the woodshed with David Stockman to talk about how to get this thing in order.
The House Democrats had enough rhetoric for the occasion, but they did not have enough votes to override the president. And after more than an hour of posturing, Republicans pressured for a resolution.
We look like the laughing stock of the nation. Here we are blabbing up, talking like little children if somebody stole our candy. Let's get down to the business of the day. Let's get it over with and let's go home.
It was clear the president had worn the Congress down, and a short time later the House agreed to Mr. Reagan's request for a simple extension to December 15th of the current spending levels, which had expired at Friday midnight. And late this afternoon, on the Senate floor, with Majority Leader Baker assuring his colleagues that the president would not veto this brief postponement, the Senate approved the measure overwhelmingly 88-1. The crisis is now temporarily over. And the Washington politicians did today what they do very well. They delayed the day of reckoning for another day, December 15th, when the rush will then be on getting out of town for the Christmas holiday. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Temporary though the government shutdown turned out to be, it created mass confusion among workers in federal offices. Bob Schieffer explains how.
15 minutes before 8 o'clock at WTOP. Good morning, everyone. President Reagan is expected to issue his first veto just minutes from now.
The news reports on the car radios told the story, but it was still hard for government workers to believe it was really happening. The commuter traffic around Washington was just as heavy as it always is on a Monday morning. But it really was happening, and it began to sink in as the early arrivals reached their offices. Even before some of them had their hats off at the health department, there was the president on television.
Good morning, and I do mean morning.
Telling them that some of them would be laid off because the government had run out of money. As the president was breaking the news, the White House was playing public relations aspects of the situation to the hilt. The White House gardener was sent home. Some of the national monuments were closed. And at the White House number citizens can call to file complaints, today there was only a recorded announcement.
All non-essential personnel have been furloughed. No one is here to answer your call.
The government is going to close down.
At the Agriculture Department, supervisors were told only essential services such as meat inspection would continue. The announcement touched off a run on the department's credit union as many workers drew out savings to plan for the layoffs ordered by the president.
It's terrible. I mean, if he was in the situation that the other people are, people out here struggling now, they can't live.
I don't know why he's picking on federal employees like he is, but he sure is, in my opinion.
In many offices, workers simply covered their typewriters and left. By noon, others who'd been on the job only a few hours were streaming out of office buildings en route home again. So many went home, it created an unusual noon-hour traffic jam. Employee union leaders were furious, calling the situation unprecedented and unfair.
The President of the United States disregards the fact that 535 other people are elected to represent the needs of the American citizens, and takes a posture that if he can't get it his way, then it'll be no way.
Some things did not change. It was business as usual at the Pentagon and other places considered essential, such as the post office, the airports, the Social Security office. And keeping government officials mobile must have also been considered essential. Their limos kept on rolling. Around the country, the changes were also being seen and felt. In Miami, some government workers were sent home. Others were sent home in Chicago, and those who were allowed to stay there didn't fare all that well, since it was 52 degrees and the federal building heat was turned off. In New York, they even closed the Statue of Liberty, which seemed to make everyone furious.
I'm amazed about it. I thought that the Statue of Liberty symbolized everything that America was, and since they closed it, well, I mean, they might as well close America as far as I'm concerned.
But dramatic as it was, the theatrics of closing down the government turned out to be a one-act play. Under the legislation agreed on tonight, the workers will not be docked for the time off. They'll be told to come back to work tomorrow. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, Washington.
Now, when you buy an Amana Touchmatic 2 radar range, you'll get a radar range bonus buy that'll turn you into a connoisseur of freshly brewed coffee with an Amana coffee maker, a pizza chef with an Amana pizza crisper, and a candy cook with a Touchmatic candy maker. An $89.85 value for just $9.95 only when you buy an Amana Touchmatic 2 radar range. Remember, if it doesn't say Amana, it's not a radar range.
When Europeans get together with friends, they serve their wine in a carafe. Thanks to Paul Masson, we can enjoy this same tradition. Paul Masson's attractive carafe, an easy way to enjoy our great wines, like cool, delicious Paul Masson Chablis, rich, mellow Burgundy, or delightful Rosé. The Paul Masson carafe. The time has come for this great way to serve a great wine.
Soviet President Brezhnev today made his first public response to President Reagan's proposal for eliminating medium-range missiles in Europe. As expected, Brezhnev rejected it. But he introduced what he called, quote, a new essential element in our position. It was done during a Bonn summit meeting with West German Chancellor Schmidt. Tom Fenton is in Germany.
Brezhnev went a step further tonight, offering to cut back unilaterally the number of Soviet missiles targeted on Western Europe, provided the United States agrees not to deploy any new missiles while negotiations are underway. Previously, Brezhnev had offered only to freeze the number of missiles on both sides during negotiations, an offer the United States has refused. He described the new offer as a goodwill gesture and said that in the course of the negotiations, which begin a week from now, the Soviet Union will seek a radical reduction in nuclear weapons on both sides. Brezhnev said he was talking about doing away with not just dozens, but hundreds of medium-range nuclear weapons. Earlier today, the two leaders talked for more than 5 hours, with arms limitations being the main issue. Brezhnev indicated that his overriding concern is to head off the NATO plans to station 572 new American missiles in Europe. As an implied threat, he told Schmidt that the Soviet Union would take strong countermeasures if NATO went ahead with its plans. Brezhnev's offer is a response to President Reagan's proposal to scrap all medium-range land-based nuclear missiles in Europe, a proposal the Soviet president has turned down. Having been upstaged by Reagan last week, Brezhnev now appears to be trying to do the same thing to the American president. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Bonn.
Schmidt called for a U.S.-Soviet summit to establish a clear sign of hope and trust, something that Brezhnev was quoted as saying would be useful if well prepared. In Northern Ireland this evening, thousands of Protestants marched in military fashion just outside Belfast. They were protesting Britain's failure to stop IRA violence and threatening to do it themselves. This display by the group calling itself Ulster's Third Force followed a province-wide 12-hour strike. The strike was designed to show the Protestants' economic power. It was said to have been 70% effective.
Got a busy day ahead? Then take along the vitamins in Kellogg's Product 19 cereal.
Delicious.
100% of 9 vitamins and iron that can keep you company during the day.
Morning, children.
And that adds up to good nutrition. So when things get hopping, the vitamins in Product 19 can help. 100% of the way, 100% of the day. Kellogg's Product 19. We're with you 100%.
In Colombia, South America, women are still serenaded by the men they love. It is part of the heritage that is centuries old, the same heritage that has been passed to Juan Valdez. He picks the Colombian coffee bean as it has been picked for centuries, by hand, day after day, bean by bean. It is no accident that Colombian coffee is the richest coffee in the world. It is grown in a country that is rich in tradition.
Well, December's still a week away, and Minnesota's Twin Cities already have had a whole winter's worth of weather. Bill Lynch tells us about it.
Just when Twin Cities residents thought they had recovered from the foot of snow that fell last week, an early morning ice storm brought new problems. Icy roads made driving all but impossible. At one point, more than 300 vehicles were involved in a series of pileups on Interstate 94, northwest of Minneapolis. In the city itself, municipal bus service was canceled during the morning rush hour, the first time that's happened here for 15 years. One interstate bus driver gave up shortly after leaving the terminal.
They understood, really, that the conditions were too bad to go further. A skating rink with water on it. Can't stand up. No control.
Without public transit, people called taxis, but cab service was hit and miss. Sometimes more hit than miss. Until runways could be sanded at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, incoming commercial flights were forced to circle or find alternate airports. A private jet slid off the runway at St. Paul Airport after landing. Walking was almost as treacherous, and hospitals treated scores of sidewalk fractures. To avoid such injuries, the post office told letter carriers not to make their appointed rounds. Other government offices, stores, and schools closed in surrender to the ice. Firefighters managed to do their jobs, but funeral directors had to postpone 15 burials. Late today, with temperatures dropping again and more snow on the way, this part of the Midwest is already weary of winter. Bill Lynch, CBS News, Minneapolis.
There has been another crash of a jet bomber assigned to the U.S. aircraft carrier Nimitz, the second in a week. The Navy announced today that a light attack bomber crashed yesterday in the Mediterranean, and the pilot is missing. Last Tuesday, 4 Navy flyers died in a jet crash from the carrier, the world's largest warship. There were similar crashes involving the Nimitz in June and March, but the most tragic accident on the carrier occurred last May, when a jet crashed during landing, killing 14.
I have found my new car, the Chrysler LeBaron series for 1982. LeBaron combines high mileage and luxury. The coupe even has a Mark Cross interior available. And no other car has front-wheel drive, luxury, and seat 6 at so surprising a price. Lee Iacocca's dream to combine high mileage and luxury is a reality. The 1982 Chrysler LeBaron series, they are like no other cars in America, Europe, or Japan. My new car.
Lime and lemon taste of Sprite joins your celebrations. The taste of lime and mixes right on holiday occasions. Sprite makes brighter holidays. Lime is the reason. Sprite goes well so many ways to bring you cheer this season.
Boondoggle. In its modern sense, it means a trifling, pointless work. The word dates back to the mid-1930s. Pork barrel, which means spending government money on a local improvement to please the voters, pork barrel is also rooted in our past. But if you think boondoggle and pork barrel represent so much water over the dam, Bernard Goldberg has news for you.
There are more than 67,000 dams in the United States, and most Americans probably can't name 5. But if the average taxpayer doesn't spend a lot of time thinking about dams, the average member of Congress does. In this fiscal year alone, Congress will spend more than $3.5 billion federal tax dollars for dams and levees and other water projects.
This is just one small dam in just one part of the country, a part of the country that's pretty much unknown to most Americans. It's the Tellico Dam in eastern Tennessee. The whole project cost taxpayers in every state of the union, over $100 million. That in itself isn't all that unusual by Washington standards. Nonetheless, this tiny dam has become a giant symbol, having been called one of the biggest boondoggles in United States history. Pork barrel politics gone wild.
Tellico is a disaster. None of the benefits that were ever promised from Tellico have been achieved, and there are no prospects in sight.
Shouldn't have been built.
It shouldn't have been built.
But it was built. Built, the supporters said, because it was needed. Built, the opponents said, because the politicians wanted to impress the folks back home by pumping millions of federal dollars into the local economy.
Pork barrel, the ultimate pork barrel.
The Tennessee delegation in Congress wanted Tellico built, among them Marilyn Boucard of Chattanooga. Listen to what she said on the floor of the U.S. Congress trying to persuade her colleagues to support Tellico.
In 1973, I lost a home because of a flood. If this project had been completed, this home would not have been destroyed.
This is the house Congresswoman Boucard lived in at the time of that flood. Despite what she said on the floor of Congress, this house was not destroyed.
We came down through this area. We were paddling in a rubber boat.
Tom Landis remembers the flood. He saw the damage firsthand.
At the most, it was up maybe 8 inches above the top step.
8 inches into the house?
At the most.
She said her home was destroyed in the flood.
Well, that's the same home she lived in, so obviously it wasn't destroyed.
This is an aerial photograph of the 1973 flood.
Larry Richardson is with the Tennessee Valley Authority, an expert on the 1973 flood in Congresswoman Boucard's neighborhood.
We're not talking about, in any case, we're not talking about people's homes being destroyed, water up to the rooftop or anything like that?
No.
No question?
No question. Believe it or not, it's not against the law to lie on the floor of Congress.
But you're saying flat out that what?
that her house wasn't destroyed, that she told an untruth, a lie, if you will, and she knew that that was not true.
We tried to talk to Congresswoman Boucard, but she refused. Tellico, you may recall, is the dam that almost didn't get built because of the snail daughter. In fact, the U.S. Supreme Court ordered construction halted, saying the dam endangered the tiny fish. But another Tennessee congressman, John Duncan of Knoxville, wanted Tellico built.
Clerk will report the amendment.
The corporation is authorized
Mr.
and
Chairman, I ask
directed.
unanimous consent that the amendment be read.
That was Congressman Duncan interrupting the clerk before the Tellico amendment could be read, and before virtually anyone knew what they were voting for.
The questions on the amendment of the gentleman from Tennessee. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to. It
passed. From beginning to end, it took just 43 seconds. Opponents had fought Tellico in court for years, but in less than 1 minute, the House ordered completion of Tellico, exempting it from all laws, environmental or otherwise, all laws that might stand in its way.
This was deceit. This really hit the integrity of our whole process.
Congressman Paul McCloskey was there in the front row when it happened.
The public has a dubious view of politicians at best. But when you have secret agreements that issues will not be publicly discussed, that involve hundreds of millions of dollars, then we earn the disrespect for the word politician.
There was no deception. There's a lot of sour grapes about it. I know my friend Pete McCloskey, he debated pretty strong in opposition to it. In fact, he led the fight against it, and he lost.
And someone else from Tennessee wanted Tellico built, Senator Howard Baker. During the snail daughter controversy, Baker helped create the Endangered Species Committee to decide the issue, to pick the dam over the fish, Baker hoped. But when the committee picked the fish, the committee almost became an endangered species. Why? Because Baker, angry, tried to abolish the committee. He didn't succeed, but later was able to push Tellico through the Senate. Baker would not talk to us. And this is being called the newest Tellico. It's the Columbia Dam in Middle Tennessee, which is less than half complete, tied up in court by opponents.
It's pork barrel politics from beginning to end. The project is not economically justifiable. It's environmentally damaging, yet it keeps on going. And the only possible reason is this concept of funneling taxpayers' money through contractors and developers' pockets back into the politicians' re-election campaign, back into Congress, and back again.
Congressman Robin Beard, a strong supporter of Columbia and Tellico before it, wants the dam completed. Columbia is in his home district, but he could not talk to us, Nate said, because he was in Tennessee campaigning for the 1982 election. And if Congress does approve Columbia, thousands of acres of farmland will be flooded, just as they were when Tellico was built. And hundreds of families near Columbia will have to leave their land. People like 71-year-old Pearl Gillum, who has lived here for nearly 40 years.
Darned infernal dam is sitting right over the top of me, you see, all the time. This land is home, and we worked hard for this land. Paid taxes, thought we owned it. I can't even put a rose bush out and have any heart of thinking I'll see it bloom. Now that's what the Columbia Dam has done to me.
The Tellico Dam and the Columbia Dam, as we pointed out, are financed with federal tax dollars, everybody's money. But as one opponent of the projects told us, everybody's money, when it reaches the congressional pork barrel, has a funny way of becoming nobody's money. Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, Washington.
An automobile industry trade paper reports that domestic car production for 1981 will be the lowest in 20 years. Ward's Automotive Report says Ford and General Motors have cut another 100,000 cars from their production schedules for the current quarter because of poor sales. Officials of the Stamford, Connecticut Advocate said today the newspaper has fired Rita Johnson. She's the reporter who lived with Weather Underground fugitive Catherine Boudin for several years, but claimed not to have known Boudin's true identity. Boudin was arrested last month after the robbery of a Brinks armored car in suburban New York. 3 people were killed in that holdup. The following day, Johnson said she learned Boudin's identity only after seeing news reports of the crime. In announcing Johnson's dismissal, the advocate said, although we had known for at least a week that Johnson had permitted inaccurate information to be printed, We wanted to give her every opportunity to reveal the truth, but she repeatedly refused to do so, unquote. Johnson could not be reached for comment. Her lawyer called the firing unjustified.
Your savings and loan has a very good reason for calling All Savers certificates All Savers. Even if your taxable income is $7,900, you can still get the kind of return the big boys are getting. What money market fund lets you invest just $500, guarantees a big return for a full year, and insures your money through a federal agency? What money market fund can do all that? I can't think of a single one.
Changing your own oil and filter regularly can make a world of difference when you're about to go on a long trip, especially if you want to leave on time. That's why Valvoline markets a complete line of fine quality products for your engine. Valvoline is engineered to help prevent heat buildup and oil breakdown in today's higher revving engines. Valvoline congratulates the Columbia crew, team, and the thousands of Americans who helped make another of our country's proud moments happen.
The bear went home today. 8 months after suffering a grave bullet wound in his brain, Presidential Press Secretary James Brady left the hospital. Bill Plant was there.
A high school band struck up When Irish Eyes Are Smiling. The doors of George Washington University Hospital swung open, and Presidential Press Secretary Jim Brady began slowly making his way out. I didn't walk in here, he had told friends, but I sure as hell am going to walk out. This afternoon, he made good that promise as hospital staff, onlookers, and news people cheered. Flanked by his wife Sarah, a nurse, and followed by Dr. Arthur Cobreen, the neurosurgeon who operated on him, he entered a waiting van. In a prepared statement, Brady thanked people from around the world for the outpouring of prayer and encouragement he received. After the short trip to his suburban home, Brady was greeted by his 3-year-old son Scott and by neighbors. It has been a long road back for Brady from his critical wound of March 30th. He is still partially paralyzed on the left side, but his mind is alert and his sense of humor intact. He still faces an indefinite period of intense physical therapy. In his statement today, Brady, whose nickname is the Bear, said that he and his wife now rejoin our friends and neighbors with a true spirit of optimism for the future. They say the Bear will be back. I am here to say the Bear is back. Bill Plant, CBS News, Washington.
And that's the CBS Evening News for this Monday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Good night.
The criteria for a compact copier of a different sort. It's here, the Canon NP210. A fixed copy board saves space. 21 letter-size copies a minute saves time. Copies up to ledger size. The Canon NP210 even has its own optional mini sorter. The economical Canon NP210. A compact copier of a different sort. Call toll-free for information or contact your authorized Canon dealer.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this has been the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. This is CBS.
A deputy